What's happening, everybody? Z here, and in today's video I'm going to talk about how to manage your finances in Canada as an international student. Look, if you have been following my content for a while, you know my videos are dedicated to students who are planning on studying abroad, and this video is going to be one of those, and it's going to help you out in ways you can't even imagine. So stay tuned for the next couple of minutes so that I can help you get rich as an international student. I'm going to break this up into three parts. Number one, I'm going to talk about what you can even expect when you move to Canada in terms of your finances. Then I'm going to teach you how to make a lot of money as an international student. And lastly, I'm going to share with you one big mistake that I made, which ruined at least 5 or 6 years of my life as an international student, which led me to not being able to do a lot with all the money that I had. So let's jump right into it. The very first thing you got to know about Canada is that it's expensive. So what kind of costs can you expect? As an international student, mostly your tuition fees are always going to range anywhere from 15,000 Canadian dollar to 25,000 30,000 Canadian dollar, depending on the type of education level you're going for. Diploma, advanced diploma, and undergraduate studies are usually more expensive than postgraduate studies. So if you're doing postgraduate, it might be a little cheaper, and you're looking at the 15,000 or maybe sometimes $13,000 per year range. And then your living costs could range anywhere from 10,000 Canadian dollars to 15,000 Canadian dollars per year, depending on the city you live in. So you gotta really ask yourself, how much money do you really have? And you gotta make sure that you budget for that. Some students think it's gonna be super cheap and they only take some amount of money that's not a lot, and it doesn't help them out in the long term, and it gets really stressful on their financial situation. So now that you know how much it costs you for education and living, just calculate how much is it going to cost you in total for the type of education level you're going for, and don't try to be conservative with the numbers, because any accident can happen at any time and that might surpass your budget. So keep some extra money for any accidental expenses. Now that you know that Canada is a bit expensive maybe, but at least you're prepared for what's coming. So how can you actually make a lot of money as an international student so that you can probably cover some of your expenses? Here's what most international students do, which I don't really recommend, is that they take up jobs at Subways or Tim Hortons or McDonald's, and they take on hourly wage jobs. Those are typically called minimum wage jobs, and obviously with minimum, nothing ambitious comes. Go for maximum paying jobs. How do you do that? As an international student, I actually never worked a minimum wage job except for once, when I only took on that job because I knew I had to travel somewhere else and I just needed some quick money for 2 months, and I just did that. So what did I do as an international student to make a lot of money? The very first thing I did was I became my residence coordinator. When you become a residence coordinator of your university or college, you're gonna get your residence for free, and that immediately is a $10,000 discount or a scholarship or money that you don't have to pay because now it's covered. That's how I just scaled my time. I didn't have to really work a lot. It would usually be 4 or 5 hours a week. So if you do the math, I was making a lot of money by the hour if you had to accumulate all that time and the residence fees, right? That's how you make maximum wage per hour. Then what else did I do on the side? I did that. Then I also became a photographer and a videographer for all the events on campus. Per event that was only 1 hour, I was getting paid anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 for 1 hour. Whereas the people who are working at Subways or Tim Hortons, they're getting paid $15 per hour. That's how you scale your time, which is why I keep telling students, get good at something. Stop hanging out with your dumb friends. Stop watching TV shows. Go pick up a skill that people are willing to pay for. So because I had communication skills, because I had good English, because I knew how to take photos and videos, the residents hired me for my communication skill. The various departments on campus wanted to hire me for my photography and videography skills. And once I did that, it got more exposure, and outside companies started hiring me for an event. I was being hired by the government of Canada for their commercial events, and I was making $700, $800 just to take photos for 30 minutes. That's how you maximize your earning. And moving on after that, I opened up my social media marketing company. I opened up a video marketing company. Following that, I also took another job with a credit card company where I was selling their credit cards, and per hour I was making $40 to $50 on commissions. I wasn't sticking to a job which only paid me for my time. I took on a job which was paying me for my skill, and the better you are at something, the more you get paid. So figure out what skill you have that people are willing to pay a lot of money for. I was good at sales. I closed a lot, I brought a lot of sales for my company, and they paid me a lot of money for that. So those are just some of the hacks that I can give you for making a lot of money. Now, I will share with you the biggest mistake I made as an international student, which is when I moved to Canada, when I was making a lot of money, I was spending a lot of money at the same time as well. However, I got in the bad habit of taking on credit cards. When I took on credit cards, I also used that to further increase my expenses, and I then got into the habit of not paying them. As an international student, when you take on debt, especially in the developed countries, there's this thing called credit score, which measures your ability to pay back your debt on time. And if you don't, it becomes the score that shows your financial capacity. So if you don't pay that back in time, your score is gonna start going down. And that's exactly what happened to me. I damaged my credit score in Canada because I wasn't paying my credit card back. Initially, I had great score, but then it went down into the red zone, and I couldn't take loans, I couldn't buy a house, I couldn't buy a car, I couldn't get business loans because my credit was bad. So it becomes this ranking system which shows that you're just a bad person financially. Even if you have a lot of money, you won't be able to do anything anymore, because let's say if you want to buy a house and if you have the down payment for the house, but they will not give you the house because you have a bad credit score. And also, when I didn't pay those credit cards back because I didn't save a lot of money, even though I made a lot of money, which is another big mistake that I made, is not save anything that I earned. What happened was that at some point I had a lot of expenses which I didn't even have the money to pay for anymore. That led to those debt accounts going back into collection agencies, and collection agencies are really bad things that can happen to you. So don't ever do that. If you're making a lot of money based on the strategy that I give you, please save. That is my biggest mistake. If there's one thing I would change if I were to go back 4 years ago, I would probably have $500,000 in my account right now, only if I saved, but I didn't. I don't want you to do that, okay? So go make a lot of money, save and invest, but don't take on extra debt that you don't need. But even if you take on debt, make sure to pay that back on time and don't let it get into the bad credit score zone. So those are some authentic tips coming from someone who lived in Canada. I'm a permanent resident in Canada now. Now I did launch a company that helps students like you guys move to Canada. We help you with your admissions, visa, and career development once you move abroad. Obviously, you just saw the kind of hacks that I give you. So if you want to learn more, make sure to check out the link in the comments. Sign up there, my team will get in touch. But if you want to see more of these videos, make sure to like, follow, subscribe, ask your questions in the comments, and I guess I'll see you in the next one.